I could steal the Great Salt Lake.
All right, welcome to the happy hour. Dave, how you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic. I'm glad to be here. I'm happy to have the day off and enjoy the sunshine.
Copy that. Okay, tonight we have Kory Sagendorf on. Kory's going to hit us with some knowledge about two regulations and events that have come down. We've got Kory on one side. He's a tattoo and piercing artist, and on the other side, he's also a vape enthusiast, and he does a lot of videos on Facebook Live involving vape and kind of a I don't know, a try them out and show you how they work type deal.
Yeah, hi guys, and I do an awful lot for the vaping industry. Actually, I'm known as Utah's vape guy. And actually in the state of Utah, as far as I'm aware, the only professionally sponsored vapor out here. There's a ton of them across the U.S. There's just not much in Utah.
Shocking, I know.
Exactly. But yeah, other than that, I've been a writer for Vapun Magazine. I'm a writer also for Salt Lake City Magazine, where I do a lot of reviews. Also, like you just said, I do a ton of online live reviews, YouTube, Facebook mainly. I have a huge TikTok account that I do a bunch of stuff on as well.
All right, good. Now, first, I kind of let's cover the tattoo and piercing. What steps did you have to take through the state of Utah to get certified to do that, to get the licensing?
Oh, definitely. So when it comes to tattoos and piercings in Utah, now I'll mind you, I am strictly a piercing artist. I actually don't do any tattoos. My mom is our main tattoo artist. But it's kind of the same process for everybody. Legally in the state of Utah, all you actually need is your bloodborne pathogen certification. So basically how to work around blood. And then also you need your business license as a tattoo or piercing artist or body mods artist in the state. Outside of that, especially for
that goes city to city. Is it different?
Yeah, it's based off county.
On what? Oh, it's a county license, so it may depend on what county you're in. But
yeah, so that's why you rarely see piercers or tattoo artists, especially these days, that are traveling. It's because legally they're actually required to have a license in every county that they do their art in.
Oh, so when they have that they have a convention every year in Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those artists actually probably have to get a license for county.
Yeah, I believe that as part of becoming part of that convention, you actually get a temporary permit to basically access and utilize your guys' stuff or their stuff in the convention if they're not from that county. I would assume that if you're in Salt Lake, then it wouldn't matter. You would just go there and do it.
Yeah. All right, groovy. Okay, so that and for that side of the business, for any of our members. Now, I'm tattoo and piercing free. I went through my whole time in the service and up to 45 years old, and
for sure,
diving into that. I think.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Yeah, I got paid for it. And I never.
Well, now you get thanks. Think about it like that.
Yeah.
Hey, Kory, how often do you have to get inspected by the health department in order to make your license?
They come in at least yearly. We actually work really, really closely with the Tooele County Health Department with our shop. So we're actually, believe it or not, I believe that they've come in 2 or 3 times into our shop recently. And a lot of it comes down to, especially with me as being the most rooted piercer, as new piercers come in, the county actually has been utilizing my documentation and the way I run things as kind of the guidelines for the rest of the county. So they've come in a few times with us, but not for any other reason than they really like us. So that's kind of the big deal. I believe legally, though, it's one time per year that they're required to come in.
And where's your store located?
We're located at 17 East Vine Street here in Tooele. So essentially, if you know Tooele very well, right there on the corner of Main Street and Vine, there's a little like Mexican market. They're our neighbors.
Okay.
So you're right there between there and Vista Linda.
Yes, yeah. Vista Linda, there's like that little alleyway.
Mhm.
We're right in the middle in there.
I get my cut up mangoes at that little Mexican store. I love that.
Oh, next time you come by, come say hi. Actually, no, you can't. We have all the COVID-19 rules, so we can't have walk-ins. But you can wave to me through the window.
Yeah.
Now that's going to change though soon, isn't it?
As far as I know, I've been aware that we got at least a month of the COVID-19 stuff. So like wearing masks at the store right now by policy of health department, we actually are required to have everyone have hand sanitizer. We're required for everybody to have a mask on while they're in the shop. No more walk-in appointments. Everything has to be scheduled. And then we also can't have kids in the shop in any manner as well.
What if you're piercing like the lips or the nose? Do you just move the mask out of the way, punch a hole, and then slide it back on?
So what I have done is I've actually tried to take the consideration on my part for oral piercings, so lip piercings and tongue piercings, things that require me to be super close to people's faces. I actually utilize a surgical mask. I have a fabric stretchy mask that goes over that, and then a face shield that comes down. So that way I can do everything I can to avoid it while my client doesn't have a mask on. But through any time that they're, other than when they're getting pierced, they are required to still have it.
All right.
Do they require a filtration system like those air filters that zap the air?
Oh, gotcha. Not that I know of. I haven't heard of any filtration or error systems as a requirement. I'm sure that like if you have a good HEPA system, it definitely can help, though.
So how's business? Is it going okay right now, or?
Well, today was actually my first day coming back. So we opened officially yesterday, as with most of the businesses that reopened. And I came back today. I know that just in the last few days that I've been booking, I've actually almost booked out my entire month of May at this point, and I still have people that are trying to get in. So I'm assuming that this is going to mean that it's going to be a good summer for me. Normally summers are pretty slow for piercings just because you don't really want to get your belly button done when you're going to go swimming. But because of the COVID, I'm not going to lie, I'm actually a little optimistic to see that because people won't be doing those summer activities, that they might actually come in and get some piercings in place of it.
Well, I'm glad you're back in business, you know.
Thank you.
I love to see commerce. I love it.
Oh yeah, it's been scary. I'll be 100% honest, and I apologize if this is a little too forward, but I got screwed through all of this by everybody through the state. I got screwed by everybody. I still haven't even received my stimulus check yet.
And you got screwed. Well, where your business model is direct contact with other people.
It's like a barber shop.
They shut you out.
Exactly.
It's not like they can call ahead and you can deliver a piercing, you know.
No, and that's the biggest issue is like, I mean, there's other companies that were able to move to like curbside and do services through that way, or, you know, online purchases. There's nothing I could do. Like I was dead in the water.
And you still got to pay the rent.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, we still had shop rent. I still had my booth rent that I had to pay. Everything that encompasses it, insurances and all that fun stuff. No one wanted to give us a break, obviously, and so you know that stuff still had to be covered. And I think that for small businesses, most small businesses were prepared for a couple of weeks to be closed, but like in our case, at 6 weeks, I mean, by the end of it, I was scraping for pennies under my couch, you know, and I hadn't done that for years.
Who's prepared for a month down? You know?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, it's a lot. I
mean, the only businesses that are doing well right now are the big box, you know, Walmart.
Oh, exactly.
Home Depot. Everyone else is suffering in some way or form, but those small businesses, I mean, how many of those went under in this 6 weeks? You know?
Oh, I bet there's a good portion. My guesstimation would be somewhere within at least 15 to 20% of businesses won't be reopening their doors through this.
Yeah, and that is very depressing. That's a hollowing out of the real middle class of the.
And it's going to be the large corporations that benefit from that. They're going to either buy those small businesses up and close them down and just
don't have to deal with the competition. Just don't have to deal with it at all, and that's gonna. Yeah, that's a terrible thing, and I'm glad we're moving back to operating. I don't think we're through it yet. I think with that bill that came through, that we're probably not going to feel until next year. And we'll never be able to pay that back. It's just those numbers a human brain can't even comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
And the economic cost, I don't think we're going to really bear that out till probably the end of summer. We'll start doing that.
Oh yeah, I've always lived by the business model that for every 1 month you're out, it takes 3 months to recoup. And so in this situation, I was
normal economics.
Yeah, and it really is.
That's if the world's moving around you. But when they shut down, 40 to 60% of the world around you, that multiplies all those numbers.
Oh, it really, exponentially.
Yeah. I mean, eventually people aren't going to be able to afford your services. So then you're going to have to figure out how to accommodate keeping your services going and making,
Oh yeah, and it really is. It's a delicate balance too of knowing your community and knowing what your community can handle. Because I've been a piercer here in Tooele for 9 years now, so I've seen a new piercer come in and leave almost yearly every year. And the biggest thing that I've seen other piercers do, like work themselves out, is by overpricing themselves. They price themselves like they are some master at what they do. When the community, just Tooele County itself, doesn't support that kind of I guess you could say business. Whereas what I have done is, luckily for me, I've been such a prominent community member and I talk with so many people, I've been able to kind of adjust what I think is going to or works best. And I believe my pricing model works great, and I would be scared to have to drop it or lower it, but I would if I needed to.
Yeah.
Hey, Kory, let me ask you this about your pricing model.
Yeah.
Would you ever accept Bitcoin in exchange for piercing?
Oh, happily. Like, actually, I've thought about it many, many times. I've thought about different cryptocurrencies. My biggest thing that has gotten me into it is I don't know much about cryptocurrency to an extent that I could give a knowledgeable opinion on it, though I do like it. And I don't know if I need to set up for all of them or if I could do just one. Is it just Bitcoin, or do I also have to do like Dogecoin as well and everything else that follows through with it? But yeah, if set up, I would be more than happy to do a Bitcoin.
We're talking to the right guy. Dave actually teaches people Bitcoin. And
oh yeah, then definitely.
I teach businesses how to accept it and work with it, get it converted over to cash. And I'm very interested to see, like, today's new generation of business owners, the younger crowd, a lot of them are taking it and they're happy to do it.
Yeah, and like I just said, and it's awesome that you do that. We'll definitely have to talk after this just a little bit, because it is one of those things where I'm all about it. It's just an ignorance factor. I don't know enough about it to be able to make that plunge without being over consumed with fear of some form. And so, if you're there to answer those questions, that's actually super cool to have people like you around. That I didn't even know that there were people that taught people. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. We'll talk later. But I'm
yeah,
glad
definitely.
to hear the open-mindedness. That's progressive.
Like I said, I'm all about it, man. Like I don't want to come across ever as like one of those people, all for PETA and all that stuff. I'm not that guy. I just want to see us move forward. And in the case of economics, cryptocurrencies is the way moving forward, in my opinion. I can definitely see where the benefit's going to lie over, cold hard cash.
Well, stripping away from the Federal Reserve, that has to be done. Any private entity that has that much command over your economy is scary. And the Federal Reserve is not federal. It's private.
No, I can see that.
It just doesn't belong to us. They just gave it a name. Federal Express. Anyways, all right. So we talked about your piercing and tattoo business. Once again, give us out that address in case we got any.
Yeah. 17 East Vine Street, Tattoos on Vine. You can find us online. Social media is a big outcry for us. You can also find me if you just look up Kory Sagendorf. You can see my professional page for piercings. We're pretty much 5 stars across the board for everything. Yeah, check us out. See what products we have coming out, and don't be scared to hit any of us up either.
Yeah, and I'll throw some links in the show notes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that'd be great.
Jump right to them. All right, now on to this. To the vaping regulations, they've been ramping up. It seems like every 4 to 6 months over the last couple of years, a new one has come out, and some of them are state level, some of them are federal level.
Most definitely.
What's the drive behind that? Well, first let me lay out. I see vaping as a means for people to get off of using cigarettes or chewing tobacco and what have you. And I think it's definitely helped out. It helped me out with that. So I see it as a positive, but what are they regulating? What is contrary to that?
So there's a lot that goes into this. This is a much more complicated matter than just a black and white situation. To start, Big Tobacco has a big problem with vaping. Just in the first 2 years that vaping became modernized and mainstream, they lost billions of dollars to vapors. The majority of people that were smoking conventional cigarettes, or what I call analog cigarettes, moved to the newer style of vaping because it's safer, healthier, and it tasted better.
Yeah, that's the analog cigarette word. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like a cassette tape these days. They're cool. Yeah, I like them for retro looks.
You
but
probably don't even know what an 8-track is.
Oh, actually, believe it or not, I actually had an 8-track player that we had set up that was actually built for a car, and we had set it up so that way we could have it built into our house for a while. So yes, I actually know what that is.
The second car I had was a Gran Torino that had an 8-track player in it when I first got it.
Oh, hell yeah.
My dad's Cheech and Chong 8-track tape.
My first car was a 1972 Ford Thunderbird. So, I feel you. I would kill for a Torino.
This wasn't a cool Torino. It was 4-door and rust. But
hey, you know what? It had personality. That's the difference.
It had a 351 Cleveland is what it had.
Okay, that too. Okay.
Anyway, so
yeah.
They targeted because the flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I liked. I liked
Yeah.
the cinnamon flavor, you know.
Exactly, and I'll be the first to admit it is a more appealing product than conventional cigarettes. One thing,
you don't smell like a cigarette later.
Yeah, exactly. You can go around, you can vape your head off, walk into a business, and everyone just thinks that it's just super, a super sweet candy smell or something to that effect. Essentially, like what it comes down to with these guys is they kind of turned towards the idea that underage vaping was the big deal. And yes, it definitely is a big deal. We don't want kids vaping. We know by scientific fact that that our brain isn't even fully developed until you hit 23 to 24 years old. So, I mean, at that point, if a kid's smoking, the nicotine will cause some form of brain issues as they grow.
And so they say over your adolescence, if you start smoking at, say, 15, it can save 2 inches off your overall height.
Yeah, definitely.
Your height
And I think a lot of it came down to the idea that there still isn't as much research on vaping as there has been for cigarettes. And so we had a big fear of, what is this? Are people dying from it? Stuff like that. And really, at the end of the day, every legitimate study has come out proving that vaping is 95% healthier than smoking a conventional cigarette. And even the nicotine values in it are much lower than your conventional cigarette. A conventional cigarette should have approximately 18 milligrams of nicotine in it. You lose approximately 7 of that to the smoke when you're not inhaling it, whereas per puff with a vapor product, you're only getting at max maybe a 6 milligram dosage. And so really what it comes down to is, I mean, just by concentration alone, it is a better product. And so after they moved it to this new notion that it's all about underage vaping, this, that, and the other thing, they, through the federal government, had initialized the first big wave of control over the vaping industry. And that's where we saw things such as like actual vape shops only being allowed to vape, whereas also like the vaping age changed. I'm sure you guys know that. It went up. All of those things were derived through this initial idea that that quote unquote underage vaping was the biggest detriment to what was happening in our country.
What was the initial age before that change, and what did it change to?
Federally, it was 18. In the state of Utah, it was 19. And so essentially what happened was in the state of Utah, which I will credit Utah, they did it right. They moved the age to 21 and they were going to stipple every year. So basically starting at age 19, those who were legal to vape could keep vaping. And then when they turned 20, essentially the 20-year-olds would then become the legal ones, and then 21 and so forth. Yeah. Okay. The federal government, in all of their grand knowledge, decided to do it overnight. So essentially they made, and federally it's 18-year-olds, they made anyone from 18 to 21 illegal to vape. And so they just turned a ton of people into freaking criminals. Though they did append a lot, and they did say that they will not be enforcing any vapor products, or that they will not be enforcing like people getting in tickets or anything like that, but they still said, yeah, you can't purchase your products, you can't do anything. So I know a lot of people who at one point were totally legal to do stuff, and now they're being forced to be a criminal just to purchase their vapor products and have someone else do it for them.
Okay,
so that was
government writing a law that makes you a criminal the next day.
Oh, literally, it went into effect at midnight. At midnight, a third of the vapors in the nation were completely illegal.
Are you a gun
just
owner?
Like that. I am a gun owner, yes.
How many times do you think that has happened to gun owners across the nation in the last year? It's been done counting.
At least 2, but no more than 5. How does that sound?
It happens all the time. Yeah. When ordinance comes down and makes you a criminal the next day, New York has run into problems with it, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's again another issue I have with governments is they write a law that makes you lawful at 11:59, criminal at 12:01.
Yep, exactly. And that's pretty much what they did. They really fought hard on trying to illegalize it. There was potentially they were going to do an entire ban. Luckily, through fighting and the vapors organizations out there, they have changed things. They are not going to ban flavors, so that is awesome. Most states have implemented some form of a taxation. Here in the state of Utah, most recently, they implemented a 56% tax to the manufacturers. So really that's only going to mean an increase of $1 to $2 for the actual consumer, which is good.
$1 to $2 on how much spent?
Well, so an average like 60 milliliter bottle of juice should be about between $17 and $22, depending on brand, quality, that type of stuff. So most likely what we will see is we'll see those $17 bottles going up to $19 and $22 going to $24. And then we're going to see.
We're looking at a 10% tax in the end.
Most likely we're going to see something like that applied to us as the consumer, but I couldn't tell you exactly what the tax is because essentially I'm pretty sure the state's going to run it just like they do everything else, which is the first person to get their hands on it in the state is the first person to get taxed on it.
Yeah,
and so
But you can say that, but when it raises your price, you get taxed. The person who purchased it.
Oh yeah. At the end of the day, we're still going to see an increase as the consumer. If you're going to go down to the vape shop, like I said, your $20 bottle of juice just went up. Luckily, it's not as much as other states. States such as Minnesota has a 98% tax hike on them.
98% tax.
98. Like, that's intense. When they first implemented that was also imposed to the consumer over anyone else. So when it got imposed to the consumer, they literally saw their juice bottles double over the course of like a week.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like I need to get a pickup truck and fill it with juice and make a run.
Oh, do it because it'll definitely make it happen.
Yeah, I mean that's what happened to Eric Garner.
What was that?
That's what happened to Eric Garner. I mean, he was selling loosies because they've taxed cigarettes out of the market, so people will buy them as singles. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
hold on, just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna like sneeze off camera here real quick.
Sneeze on camera. We're fine.
Now, didn't they choke Eric Garner out though?
Yeah, they choked him out because he had been caught selling loosies.
Yeah, I don't want to get choked out, so
No.
I think I'll just submit to the long arm of the law on that.
Sorry, I'm back.
You're good. No, I don't seriously drive a truck to Minnesota.
Now, if you drive a truck to Idaho right now to go get a lottery ticket, I'm hearing rumors that you actually get stopped on a checkpoint and they're issuing you suggestion to quarantine papers. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, in the state of Utah, I heard that if you're coming in from out of state, they actually send you a text message that you have to contact the Utah CDC to check in with them.
Really? How do they know your phone number? How do they know?
I'm assuming if you have an out-of-state area code, as soon as it registers in the state, they will then send you an automatic message just like they do like Amber Alerts.
Really? What about those people that say live in Portage or Malad, you know, those border towns? What, do they get a text message every 10 minutes as they go from one field to the other?
Hopefully they have unlimited text messaging. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about, you know, rights, but I don't know. Anyways, we've hashed the COVID to death. But so these regulations are coming down federally and by state, right?
Yes, by both. Yep, we got hit with everything. The state regulations are obviously more stringent than what you're seeing through the federal regulations. One of the more recent changes that just happened to the vaping industry that will be taking place, I want to say it's either August or September that they have until, but there's a no grandfathering clause now. So there's a lot of vape shops that are within 1,000 feet of like a public building, so such as a church or a school. All those shops are going to be forced to close here this summer, just because they actually implemented a no grandfathering clause. So even though
they've got that one on Main Street, right? By Little Caesars.
Tooele is a little different. Believe it or not, Tooele actually has implemented a no full tobacco store essentially rule. And the way that they were able to get around that is they increased their 1,000-foot radius to a 2,000-foot radius. And so there's almost no spots unless you build out in like Erda to actually have a full vape shop or tobacco establishment. The shops that you see here in Tooele actually are mixed retail. And so under the new state laws, the shop that you're talking about, which is Smoking Owls, I actually don't think they're going to be able to retain their grandfathering.
So they're going to get tossed because Tooele extended the date.
Potentially, yeah. I don't know how they're gonna do it, and I'm sure there's going to be a huge amount of these vaping shops that are going to lawyer up and they're going to try and fight for it. Which, I mean, I say go for it. If you're going to fight for it, yeah, make it happen.
Well, and come on, Tooele, what you're going to do is you're going to drive these shops online, and then they're going to sell nothing but their products online. It'll be out of some guy's basement, and then their taxes are just going to go to the state. You're no longer going to get a business tax.
Oh, yeah.
On the city.
If Tooele City was smart, they would allow a larger, actual, legitimate vape shop to come into this town. Most recently, at one of the last Tooele Health Department meetings in regards to vaping, I was there, and this is what I fought for while talking to the health board, was the idea that if you guys implement and let an actual, legitimate, reputable vape shop come into the city, it's actually going to stem off a lot of the issues that Tooele itself is seeing. Because one thing, and this is coming from somebody, I will say this on camera everywhere, as somebody who has worked in these shops here in Tooele, every one of these shops, every one of them sells to minors. Every one of them, if they know the person well enough, they will sell to you. So that could be your friends' kids, that could be your kids, that could be anybody. And so, I mean, really, if Tooele was smart, they would bring an actual vape shop in that wants to do this right and wants to do things the proper way in order to better benefit the city and the county.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, if I owned a vape shop, I wouldn't feel comfortable not selling to somebody who's 18 or older. I mean, I don't think morally I could say no to them.
And see, and in the state, they actually legally, as far as I'm aware, if you're under 21, you're not even allowed to be in the store.
Because that's the new smoking age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. If you can hold a machine gun and stand the ground and protect your country, I just couldn't say no to you.
Yeah.
I actually, and I'm not trying to be that guy that always has an answer to something, but if I remember right, they did have an exception for armed services personnel. They are still allowed to vape and smoke at 18.
Yeah. Well, that I don't know.
It's a conundrum, because I mean, really, at the end of the day, all the scientific outlook says vaping is better for you. The pockets that are lined by big tobacco are saying vaping is terrible for you, and then big tobacco themselves are saying it's bad for you, but here's our vaping products.
Yeah,
so I mean,
that they've dove in headlong into vape products.
Oh yeah, they definitely did. Philip Morris owns a couple of vaping like e-juice companies. RJ Reynolds owns some stuff. Philip Morris, actually, they have that new IQs that they're trying to push, which is essentially they call it an electric cigarette. That is different than electronic, because the electric cigarette actually heats the tobacco to give you the nicotine off of a cigarette. So you'd actually load a cigarette into the IQs, and then it just heats it for you.
Now, can you make this stuff at home? This vape material?
Oh, I mean, an original vape, like this box that I have in my hand here, this is literally nothing more than a modified Mad Light with a 510 connection. Anything with a 510 connection, you could potentially do it. Back in the day, we were making vapes out of PVC pipe, though it's not safe, and I do not advocate you do that. It's buildable.
Yeah.
I was actually referring to the liquids that they put in.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh yeah, you can make. I've got a buddy that makes his own liquids at home, or he did. I don't know if he does now. I don't know what the rules are now, but
yeah, now you have to have your juice manufactured in an ISO 5 or ISO 6 facility, meaning basically that it has to be in a medical laboratory grade lab that it's made in.
That'll limit people a little bit.
Yeah, there was a lot of people back in the day. I will admit, though, as a vapor, there was a lot of people making people sick, utilizing very dirty, cheap products, stuff that they could find just over the shelf. And I will give it to them. I even vaped some stuff that destroyed my lungs for a while. So I get it. And I do see a difference going through only e-juice companies that have this, but it did. It basically, the people who were big at the time are the ones that are still around. Everyone else is gone.
Yeah. Okay. Now, well, I know they did away with the cinnamon that I used to like. That was
a grape guy.
Yeah, the cinnamon ones, they actually, a lot of people just stopped using it because it would eat the plastic. Like the cinnamon actually would like eat plastic and the O-rings and stuff. Yeah, so it got really messy for people.
You'd have to replace parts all the time. But you know, but that's the one that I enjoyed back then.
Oh, exactly. And it's super tasty. And you can still find a couple of flavors that are similar, but nothing is like the original like cinnamon flavor that we all remember 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah. But you know, I'm grateful for it. It got me off the cigarettes. So.
Oh yeah, and this is, at the end of the day, vaping is a tool. It is not something that should be glorified, I guess you could say. It's just like if you bought a hammer.
How do you convince those kids not to have the smoke off things that you used to watch videos about then?
Yeah, but what sucks is you're talking to the guy that owns the company that used to do that. So, yep, I actually, so part of my sponsorships that I brought up earlier is because of vape tricks and stuff like that. I could do any vape trick that you could possibly want, blow O's and split them and turn 1 O into 7 O's and do all that different stuff. And honestly, for the time when it was big, it, in my opinion, was the greatest thing that could happen because it did bring a lot of attention to the industry. Because of the underage vaping thing, really, at the end of the day, I can't say that I would advocate for it to come back, though, because I do feel like it would entice a lot of underage people to try and do it because it would show cool people that they may idolize doing something.
The new X Games. Well, so then you write for a vaping magazine.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of things do you write? Do you write stuff that talks about maybe compares them to cigarettes or compares, you know, health effects? I mean, positive, negative, where you or
so yeah, no, my writings, depending, so I've been a contributor for Vapun Magazine for a while, and the stories that I have written for them have actually pertained a lot to my touring days. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I tour with metal bands as well, and so a lot of times I'd be on the road through the nation vaping with these big metal bands and find out that they are vapors, and so they had me doing stories on them. For Salt Lake City, which is more of a cannabis-oriented magazine that I'm actually a staff writer for, my vaping articles that come out in there are actually like how to utilize them, review style articles, things, like, is this product better than this product, or, why I don't recommend you buying this vape. And then also my live videos, I do a lot of advocacy. I'll teach people how to vape. We actually used to host what we called coil building classes, where we would teach you how to properly build a coil so that way you could do and vape safely without having to worry about getting replaceable atomizers, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I can dig it. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Now, we did have nationwide a couple of deaths last year from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, it came from like the bathtub THC vapes, right?
Well, so what you're talking about is what they call as E11, which is, I can't remember what the E is, but it's like vaping lung illness or something like that. But they shortened it, the acronym is the E11. And there's a lot that's going around to that. They wanted and they tried pinning it on vaping as like these vapes. And really at the end of the day, what they found is they found that there was vitamin E acetate that was being mixed in with the actual underground black market vaping cartridges for THC. Yeah. And so people who were vaping these THC cartridges were getting sick off of them. And they basically were too scared to say, yeah, I use weed, because weed's so illegal around the nation still, that they were saying, yeah, it's the vape. And people started blaming vaping for it. Well, the studies came out, they proved that this has absolutely zero to do with E11, and it really did. It came down to China-made black market THC cartridges. And on top of that, if you wanted to get into the conspiracy theory side of things, there's a lot of people that now believe that E11 sickness was actually nothing more than COVID-19. Because all the symptoms actually line up. The people with E11 and the people that, because it was basically a respiratory illness.
It killed young people, and COVID-19 doesn't have that happen.
But if you're incorporating vitamin E acetate, which is essentially going to stick to your lungs like petroleum jelly,
So it's a double hit. They might
Yeah.
have put that, and it may have been contaminated at the same time. I could see that.
Well, I think that maybe COVID was already around. So if you're vaping that, putting your immune system at a higher risk because it's trying to fight off something that literally should not even be close to your lungs, now you get sick on top of that, and poof, now you have kids actually dying from it.
Yes, COVID is a legitimate virus from many years ago, and it's always been there.
Well,
It's
you're
just-
thinking
this is
Corona
evolved.
itself. COVID is the novel. This new.
Yeah, that's the new version that's come out.
Yeah, it's I don't want to get into virus talk. We probably all got our own thoughts on it, but I'm hoping, and I'm not a user of THC or marijuana or any of that, but I'm hoping that Utah embraces the movement to legalize it. And I'm not talking decriminalize. I'm talking complete legalization.
Oh, yeah. In the state of Utah, because a lot, especially with the vaping stuff for me, it's kind of died down. Utah's Vape Guy, my moniker, it's not something that I can pitch to any crowd and it be okay. So I've moved a lot to the medical cannabis side of Utah now and brought my followers to it. With THC, I'll tell you right now, I'm a full-fledged Utah legal medical cannabis patient. I have my card, and that is right there in itself a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah,
though I think
it is.
Mhm.
It's a huge step back in the right direction. The wrong direction is when they make it illegal. What steps do you have to go through to get your card, and then what restrictions are on you once you have the card?
So there's actually a full list of qualifying conditions for the state of Utah. The way they're written is not necessarily through disease. So if you have lupus, it's not going to make you qualify for medical cannabis in the state of Utah. But if your lupus gives you chronic pain, or if it gives you, say, for instance, nausea, now you would qualify under those certain terms.
So
Now,
focusing on symptoms versus the disease or the
yes, exactly. There are still some, like if you have AIDS or if you are terminally ill with cancer or something, you would qualify just under those terms alone. But for the normal person like me, I actually got in because of my I have a leg. I was in a bad car accident. I have like 70 ounces of titanium. So because of the chronic pain, I was totally allowed to get my card.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is Utah making it hard to get the cards, and is it making it hard to
No, Utah is very big on it being medical. That's a big deal for them. So you do have to go through what they call a state-issued or state-registered QMP, which is a qualified medical provider. It's essentially a doctor or a nurse practitioner that has certified with the state to prescribe cannabis. So you would go to one of these QMPs, whether they be your primary care physician or somebody you find outright that's just helping offer this service. But you would just go to them, you would speak with them, they would take you on as a patient, and every one of these QMPs do have a cap on them, so they're only allowed to take so many patients at a time. I believe nurse practitioners can have like 300 and doctors can have up to 500.
So I guess that's to stop them from being a cannabis card mill, but still,
Exactly.
that just sounds certificates of need. I'm not impressed with anyway.
Sounds like
Oh yeah.
government.
What I'm worried about is I'm worried that the state of Utah is going to try and push this idea that cannabis, which as somebody who's a huge user, as somebody who's experienced cannabis in legal, medical, and not legal states, they're going to try and push this idea that it's got to be prescribed through your doctor and only your doctor can tell you what you can and can't use, which I am very against. If you want to use an edible over a tincture, and even in the state of Utah, you still can't smoke pot. You can only vape it, eat it, or you can apply it through some form of external gel or something like that.
I'm completely on the side of legalize it, make it perfectly legal, treat it like alcohol if you want.
Mhm.
You can't drive on it. If you get into a car wreck, we're gonna test you for THC use, and whether that test has to be, we're gonna give you a blood test on the spot and another one 3 days later. That's fine. I mean, that's in extreme circumstances, but daily use, if you want to sit out on your front porch. But I'll be honest, I want them to legalize everything. I want to quit.
Oh yeah, I'm all for it.
To police mental and medical issues. I want to see them use medical and mental professionals to police medical and mental issues. And
I agree.
Let's let police keep the peace and investigate actual crimes where there's a victim.
Exactly. The police should be going after your heroin dealer, not your heroin user.
I don't even want them to go after the heroin dealer.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I want to see them legalize it, move dealing of heroin into a safe place, a lot like Portugal did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Move it into a safe place where it's controlled. We control the needles, not we as a populace, but a business such as a large vape shop controls that. They make sure there's not fentanyl in it. They make sure the person gets a big, clean needle. They make sure the needle's disposed of. Another market grows up. Nurses that are tired of working in ERs can get a job helping to keep users safe. And then at the same time, at the back of the shop, you can have an addiction specialist working back there that can do counseling. And instead of a person being thrown in jail and all the horrible things that come with prison, they can go in there, safe use, go get counseling, and hopefully tomorrow skip a day of using, and hopefully next week skip 2 days, and hopefully months later they can try out different things, the different drugs and enhancements that help them get off. You can pop these in the back of a church, however you want to do it. But I want to see them move away from putting people in prison, because if I had to pay for something, I would rather pay to help people who are struggling than to throw them in prison and get them raped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll save
I feel you.
of tax dollars doing something like that.
Yeah. I'm not happy with being taxed, but I'm a little happier with being taxed to help people. I'm not happy with being taxed to imprison people. I'm not happy with being taxed to make our world less safe. We'll take the marijuana user today, throw him in prison. He'll get out with that, or I should say the marijuana dealer. He'll get out with a felony. He's no longer productive in society. He has to stay in that rut, or he can go, flip burgers at a off the market burger shack or something. He can't go get a job that can sustain himself.
Oh yeah, and I totally agree with you, especially when it comes to marijuana and cannabis in general. Like, there's a lot of people out there that were just trying to be good people. They're just growing a plant or two, and now next thing you know, the feds came down on them and they can't do anything because they had a plant growing in their backyard.
They can't get a job that can pay for their life.
Mm-hmm.
They have to work crap jobs.
Or they're required to figure something else out and work for themselves, which I'm actually all for. We're always work for yourself. But
when they go work for themselves, what do they start doing for themselves? They have to start selling again and get, or not all of them, but a lot of them. So that gets them stuck in a cycle. Well, let's figure out how to pull them out of that cycle.
What I would like to see is I'd like to see the government open up, because right now, if you have a marijuana crime of any form, you can't have a job in the marijuana industry. They should change that. If you have a nonviolent weed crime, if you're a good grower, if you just have a green thumb, you should be able to grow and do your skill and your trade as you see fit, fully legal, even though you had that issue back in the past. Just because they saw it as illegal doesn't mean it should still reflect, even with the legalities changing.
I'll go one further. If you've got a nonviolent crime that's registered as a felony, they should strike the felony off your record. You're no longer a felon. Do what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And we are seeing expungements happen.
How do we have non-violent felonies? That just shocks me.
Oh yeah, because you had 1 gram over the legal limit. type idea, and that was the big deal, especially with pot is, you had, if you had up to a gram, it was this much. And then anything over a gram, even if it was 0.1 over, now you're in the whole next bracket of legalities. And, like here in the state of Utah now, you could legally have up to 4 ounces plus 1 gram on you at any given time.
Yeah, let's just make it so that marijuana is treated like cigarettes. If you have that on you and you're under 21, then we got to talk to your parents.
Oh yeah, and the stereotypes that stoners are dumb, that they are, these basically useless people in society. I will beg to differ. I mean, I own 3 different businesses. I have my hands in 25 cookie jars, and I just took 2 huge ass dabs before I came on here with you guys. So I mean, at the same, it's one of those things where there's a lot with the marijuana industry that I think does need to change, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to us as people just understanding and realizing the true facts over what was told to us in DARE during high school and stuff.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I'm complete legalization. I want them to, when I see someone getting thrown in handcuffs, I want them thrown in handcuffs for doing something towards someone else.
Yeah. If you have a malicious intent to harm somebody, you should get in trouble for that.
Now, let's say a marijuana seller is throwing, I don't know, fentanyl on it, where we know the dangers of fentanyl. Okay. But if he's just marijuana,
Yeah, if it's just your local little pot guy, I mean, I'll be the first to tell you right now, I bet there is at least one weed dealer in your neighborhood. Everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me who it is? No.
I can tell you who deals other stuff. But I also spent a little time in a form of law enforcement, so I've got a little experience with noticing that. But I'm fine because they have brought no larceny, no violence to my neighborhood. I don't care.
They can probably go to mail now. I mean,
I support him in his endeavors.
Oh, exactly. And, I don't know. I've always seen the weed dealers. I see where it's illegal. I have never agreed with the legalities of it. But with it changing to being legal, I do see where if you haven't been caught, you might as well just do the right thing and just start working on the legal side of the industry.
Oh, for sure. For sure. You may as well. I mean, it takes the ugly side of drugs comes from the prohibition of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
The ugly side,
it really is. It's very true.
The robberies, all of that comes from the prohibition of it. When liquor went under prohibition, that's when the ugly side of liquor came out. Prior to that and after that, you don't see Jim Beam and Jack Daniels shooting out in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
No. The end users may be violent, but those are shitty people. It's not actually the alcohol's fault. That's a shitty person that just had something that exacerbates who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Or she is.
I totally understand. Totally agree.
Yeah. All right.
Well, yeah.
We're at it's 8:30 now. Do you need to go?
Perfect.
You have a few minutes just to let's throw addresses again and things like that. So first, your tattoo shop, one more time with the address.
Oh, yeah. So 17 East Vine Street here in Tooele. Our shop is Tattoos on Vine. We're the most rooted shop. We've been around for 9 years now. I keep forgetting. I keep telling people 8, but it's like 9. Yeah, they're the oldest guys on the block when it comes to tattoos around here.
All right. And what businesses do you write for again, or what magazine?
So the big one is Salt Baked City Magazine. You guys can find their publications. Well, actually, the first real publication will be coming out, I believe, next month. Website is up and running. You can check. We have stories coming out on Facebook all the time. And if you're interested in medical cannabis of any form, that is exactly where you're going to want to be checking all that out for sure.
Okay. And if someone's looking for it, say there's someone maybe fighting a little bit of cancer and they're wondering how to go about this, it'd be a good avenue for them to look into and how to approach with their doctor.
Oh, and exactly. And then also, I am a huge advocate. I work very closely in the industry. So if anybody or any of your followers has any questions, I cannot implore them enough to shoot me a message. I am more than happy to answer any of their questions that they may have for them, or at the very least, get them to somebody that can.
Outstanding.
You got a Facebook page too, right, Kory?
Yeah. If you just search Utah's Vape Guy, you'll find me. Otherwise, Kory Sagendorf, even though my last name's crazy. You can find me by my name as well. I'm on all the social medias, and my Facebook page is where I do all of my live videos. So if you are interested in learning about everything from animal husbandry up to cannabis, through vaping and touring. Yeah, so a fun fact
you've got
about
a turtle and parakeet. Okay.
No, so I keep a total of 19 animals at my house. I have everything from turtles this big up to tortoises that you can ride. I have my mini pig. I have a couple of dogs. I have a blue and gold crested macaw. I have some rare turtles. I have a python. I have a couple of rats. I have eels. You name it. I got it all here.
Nice.
I got a turtle too.
All right.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I've got a dog and a cat and a 25-year-old.
Hey, you know what? That's basically what a parrot is, so you're good.
The parrots aren't as messy. You know.
Oh, you want to bet? No, that parrot, man, he terrifies me. I'll be honest. He can break your knuckle in one bite, and he'll tear, like, if he gets bored, he'll just tear holes in my wall.
Oh, yeah, parrots will tear stuff up.
Oh, destroy.
My 5-year-old is pretty mild, but
oh, yeah.
he is, how do I put this? Messy. The kid, the smell that comes off his room would scare a coroner.
Oh, I bet. I can guarantee it. My tortoise actually has its own bedroom, so I can only get an idea of what that would be like.
Nice. Well, yeah, so we're gonna put all this information we're gonna put on the description notes on YouTube.
Beautiful.
And on the whatever podcatcher you're using. If you just go into this description notes, it'll be put on there. And if anything new ever pops up, feel free to shoot us a message. We'll have you back on, even if you just 5 minutes.
I would love
throw out new if a new regulation's coming down, or if a new regulation's being voted on. Please come on and educate us and our viewers and listeners as to, you know, you're not trying to change their opinion, but you want them to be educated prior to.
Oh yeah, it's just all about the knowledge. What you do with the knowledge is up to you. But yeah, as soon as something comes through, I will happily let you guys know, and hopefully you guys have me back on, because this was just a pleasure.
Outstanding. Yeah, anytime, man. Well, hopefully next time it's in person and we don't have to.
Yeah, please. That would be awesome.
Yeah. All right. Kory, thanks for coming on again, and we'll talk to you later, man.
Thank you, guys. Kory. Be safe. Thank you.
Yes,
Keep it cloudy as well.
Yeah.
Later.
All right, Dave. I've got to step out for 1 second, so I'm going to pause this.
Okay.
All right, I'm back. Sorry, guys. I had to utilize the restroom. The happy hour is not without the need to release fluids. All right, Dave. So what'd you think of Kory?
Well, I'm really glad to hear someone can stay in business for 8 years in Tooele. I mean,
yeah.
That's a good thing. There's a tax-paying citizen that's helping to maintain the community. And
he's a nice guy. And on his subjects, he's highly knowledgeable. So I like that we have that here in the town. Someone that people can go to if they have questions. That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there anything else going on? Any other things that you want to mention before we close out?
Yeah, well, like I told you prior, the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency that has done extremely well last week. It's higher than when COVID-19 did not strike the United States. It is higher than that time period. So I don't know if that's a reflection of all the deficit that we're taking on and modeling the inflation, or just that's the way people are going nowadays. But
I imagine it might be both.
anyone who listened to us during those past couple of shows, they at least pulled 10% minimum.
Has anyone reached out to you yet to learn about it?
Not from Tooele. I mean, I've got my main customers that, need help doing this, that, and the other thing. But, no one through the podcast, I'll say.
Okay.
There's a couple of people that I had to turn away because we wanted to do in-person counseling and advising. But, right now it's all over Zoom or Skype. And that's just the way it's going to have to be for the next month for me. But next month, I'm hoping, hey, let's start getting back together for the podcast in person, and we'll continue life as normal. I think it's time.
Is there Zoom? I think has finally secured up. And there for a while, it had some major security issues. Yeah, that wouldn't be good to talk financial over something you can't guarantee is secure, would it?
Well, I don't think I care if someone peeks in on our show, to be honest with you, but some people might, I guess.
Well, not on our show, but I mean, if you're talking to a customer about their Bitcoin, they might not want that to be peeked in on.
Oh yeah, definitely in terms of that. And that's one of the reasons
just
why.
By strangers down the street. What if she's got a husband or he's got a wife that he's nervous about?
Yeah, a lot of people going through divorce, they like to use cryptocurrencies.
For sure.
Yep.
I mean, cryptocurrencies or foreign land. I mean, but yeah. Well, hopefully, we did have a few listeners to it last week. It wasn't our biggest show. I think our biggest show audibly is still the one with Jay, and our biggest show on iTunes is a show with Brenda or on YouTube is a show with Brenda. So, but we're still breaking through and we're still brand new. It's just a long, slow process. We got to keep, advertising and sharing and stuff. But yeah, again, I want to thank Kory for coming on. I'll put means to get a hold of him in the description notes. So if you have questions about it, get a hold of him. If you want to, you can talk to him openly or on the sly, however. Very personable guy, and he seemed pretty reasonable for someone who is a progressive.
Well, if you're going to get poked in Tooele. Support your community.
Yeah, help. Support local business. Definitely. All right, Dave. Well, thanks for jumping on again. Another good show down the drain, and we'll jump back on next week.
All right, Jared, you enjoy your night.
Yeah, you take her easy, man. Bye.